This
day president
conference will
yesterday.
now be recorded.
So what we observed in the standard process, okay, so generally any user department, they will create a purchase requisition. So the purchase requisition is the internal purchasing document. In SAP, we have two types of purchasing documents, internal and external. So in SAP, we have only one document, internal purchasing document, that is purchase requisition. In ME51 and transition code, generally will create a purchase requisition. Okay, so in the purchase requisition, generally any user department or any user, so initially he will mention which materials they required, how much quantity for which plant and which store location, on which data generally they required here. So this information we need to enter in the purchase requisition. So once the user will enter this information, it will go to the purchasing department. The purchasing department people will decide if already they know the vendor, if any previously contract has been created against this material. So if they knows the vendor directly, they will create a purchase order. If they don't know the vendor, so as in the standard procurement process, what we need to do? So we need to create a request for quotation. So in ME41 transaction code, so we need to create a request for quotation. So in this request for quotation, generally we need to give the quotation deadline. So on our which date before you require the quotation from the vendors here. The RFQ can be created without any reference or with reference to PR or with reference to outline agreements also. We can create a RFQ here. Okay, ME41 transaction code. So once the will raise the RFQ to the vendors, so it is the external purchasing document. It will go to the vendors. So once we'll receive the details from the vendors, means quotation. So different vendors will give the different quotations. Okay, one by one quotation you need to maintain in our system in ME47 transaction code. When you maintain the quotations, so what you need to do in your recipe system, the user will maintain. So how much means you maintain like a vendor to vendor. So some vendor will say how much quantity they are going to dispatch and what price, so on what is the delivery date. So all the details they will give us in the quotation. So once you'll receive the quotations, so once you will maintain the quotations, then we need to go and compare the quotations in ME49 transaction code. When you compare the quotation, the system will give you the best quotation. As yesterday we discussed, okay, so the four parameters will influence the quotation, but user will take the final decision. But as per the standard SAP price comparison, so which vendor is giving the less price, that is the best quotation. But apart from price, so sometimes delivery date, sometimes quantity, quality. So these are the major factors will be influenced. So the user will take the decision, and finally he will create a purchase order in ME21 transaction code. As the purchase order is a legal document, so in going forward, we'll understand so many ways we can create purchase order. With reference to PR also we can create purchase order. With reference to contract also, means outline agreement also, you can create a purchase order. With reference to RFQ. Yesterday we observed with reference to RFQ, we created a purchase order. And with reference to old PO also, you can create purchase order. So once the purchase order is created, so if it is subjected to release strategy, the concerned user department will release. Then the purchase order will go to the vendor. Then vendor, whenever the vendor is dispatched, we need to enter the goods receipt here. Okay. Once you receive the goods physically to our stores, the consent, the storage departments, the okay, so you will receive the material and you will check the material. Then you will go and you will perform the goods receipt here. So what is the transaction code in MIGO? So we need to perform this goods receipt. As we discussed yesterday, the MIGO is an inventory transaction. You can perform all the inventory activities like day to day, whatever the goods you are receiving. If you are internally, if you are issuing, the only one transaction code, it is enjoy transaction. You can perform all the inventory transactions in MIGO. Okay. So along with the goods, the vendor will give us the invoice copy. In MIRO transaction code, we observed okay, so how to create the invoice. So enter the PO number and enter the invoice date. So the system automatically generates. If you click on submit, so and you need to click on save, the invoice receipt will be created. This invoice receipt will go to our internal FI and they will pay to the vendor. So this is also called as procure to pay. So it is started from the PR and completed with the payment here. So that's what we call as P2P cycle or basic cycle or standard procurement process here. Okay, but here we observed whenever we perform the goods receipt, the results of the goods material. So what is the results of the goods material? The system is going to generate the material document, the material document relevant accounting document also we observed, and whenever you perform the goods receipt, the purchase order history, new tab is generated in the PO. So this is also most important. So at the time of PO, you will not observe, okay, so purchase order history. So when you perform the goods receipt, automatically the system is generated a purchase order, okay, history, purchase order history tab. And also you need to check, we have a report MMBE, which is an inventory report. So you go and check MMBE, there you can observe the stock overview. So how much stock we received here. This is also updated here. And also total stock and total values fields also updated here. Okay, so whenever you perform the goods receipt, the total stock, total values fields always updated in the Metal Master. So that also you can check here. Okay, so these are the different activities we performed yesterday. So in the standard procurement process, today we are going to discuss about another procurement process, which is outline agreements here. Outline agreements here. So what is outline agreements here? So basically, what is outline agreements here? So in which case, generally the clients will go an outline agreement process here. If you observe, if the materials, not all the materials, some materials will use regular production intervals here. So every week or every month we are going to use. Some materials oftenly we are using, so rarely we are using, not for those kind of materials. But some materials will use regular intervals here. So if any materials we are using in regular intervals for every time, for those materials we need to go with the outline agreements here. So what is the basic definition of the outline agreement? So outline agreement is a long range agreement between vendors and company here for a particular material or a particular materials in a particular plant here. This is called outline agreements. Outline agreement is a long range agreement between vendors and company for particular materials in a particular plant here. Okay. So what is the advantage of the outline agreements? Already we observed the standard procurement process or basic cycle in yesterday and yesterday scenarios. And today we are performing outline agreement. So what is the difference and what is the advantage here? Okay. For which kind of material here? For standard procurement process, you can perform any material here. But outline agreements, mostly the companies will go what materials they are using in regular intervals. For those kind of materials only, they will make outline agreements here. Okay. So it is a long range agreement here. So what is the advantage of the outline agreement here? See here, the advantages, first of all, you can reduce the purchase process time here. You can reduce the purchase process time here. Okay. So how you can able to reduce the purchase process time here? You know, if you compare the yesterday procurement process, so what is the yesterday procurement process? If any user department is created, the internal purchasing document is a PR, it will go to the vendor, it will go to the purchasing department. The purchasing department need to review from which vendors we need to procure, and they are creating the request for quotations, and the quotation need to be received to the company, and the company means the purchasing department need to finalize the quotation. Okay, so then we are giving the order to the vendor here. So in outline agreements, so if suppose some material X, material Y, material Z, so we are using regular production intervals. So already we made a agreement with the vendor for the next 6 months. We recovered some 5,000 pieces here with any one vendor, XYZ vendor here. Okay, whenever any user department created PR for the same materials, okay, so automatically by using this agreement, we can create the order to the vendor here. So we can reduce this purchase process time. No need to create RFQ every time. No need to maintain the quotations. No need to compare the quotation, finalize the vendor. So this is the first advantage with the outline agreement here. So what is the second advantage? See, if you are giving oftenly procuring the material to the vendor, so he will give the market price here. But if you are making the outline agreement, so if you are keeping a vendor, constant vendor, and you are giving the huge orders, so instead of 100 pieces, if you are ordering for 5,000 pieces or 10,000 pieces, definitely the vendor also will give the better negotiations here. So you can negotiate with the vendors. So for the compared to the market price. So the best negotiation is also possible in the outline agreements here. So these outline agreements, basically we have two types of outline agreements. One is contracts here. One is contract. The second one is scheduling agreement here. Second one is a scheduling agreement here. So the contracts and schedule agreement here. Okay. So basically the outline agreements are two types. One is contract, second one is a scheduling agreement here. Again, contracts, we have two types of contracts. One is a quantity contract. So the contract again will be divided into two types. One is a quantity contract, second one is a value contract here. Okay. The contract again further divided into two types, the quantity contract and value contract here. Okay. So basically outline agreements are two types, contract and schedule agreement. The contract again will be divided into two types of contracts, quantity and value here. Okay. Okay. So here, what Murali, something you are missing? Okay, it is not for us. Okay. See here, the contract as well as the schedule agreements. Okay. Here, what is the difference between the contract and schedule agreement? Also, you need to understand here. Okay. Suppose now example for Material X, for some 5,000 pieces, you created a contract with any one vendor. So how many number of pieces? 5,000 pieces. So what is the time period? For next 6 months, the vendor need to dispatch this 5,000 pieces here. So you created a contract here. The system will give the contract number here. So whenever you require this material, by using this contract number, so directly you need to create PO to the vendor, then vendor will dispatch the material here. So this is the behavior of the contract here. Okay. So once again, so what is the contract? Contract as well as schedule agreement, both are a long range agreement between vendors and company. Okay. But again, we have a difference between contract and schedule agreement. So if you observe the contract, so suppose you are creating a contract with any vendor for some particular materials. So the system will generate the contract number. By using this contract number, so whenever you require the material, so every time you need to create PO. So far we created for some 5,000 pieces for Material X here. So at a time you will not require all this number of pieces, right? So suppose tomorrow you require some 200 pieces. So by using this contract number, you need to create the PO. So you can use for next 6 months, you can utilize this material here. Okay. So this is the main purpose of the contract here. But what is the scheduling agreement here? The scheduling agreement is also a long range agreement between vendor and company. But in scheduling agreement, the same way you can make a long range agreement. Suppose 5,000 pieces, we are creating scheduling agreement with the vendor here. Okay. But here in scheduling agreement, the difference between the contract and scheduling agreement, in scheduling agreement, you need to give the pre-delivery schedules. So these 5,000 pieces, suppose next week I required some 1,000 pieces. Okay, so and so date. Okay, so and so month I require this material. The 6 months you need to give the pre-delivery schedules in the scheduling agreement. So in scheduling agreement, every time you don't need to create the PO. So initially we are giving all the delivery schedules. So this delivery schedules also will go to the vendor. So as per the delivery schedules, the vendor is going to dispatch the material. So this is the behavior of the schedule agreement. You need to understand here. Clear? So there's a basic difference between the contract and schedule agreement. Contract every time. Yeah, Arshini.
Yeah, Rajesh. In contract, we need to create PO. In schedule agreement, we no need to create PO.
Exactly.
And every time, within the period of time.
Every time. Yes. In contract, every time we need to create the PO. So once the PO will go to the, even though we have a contract with that vendor, so until unless if you have not created the PO, the vendor will not dispatch the material. But in schedule agreement, we no need to create the PO. So here initially we will give the pre-delivery schedules to the vendor. As per the delivery schedules, vendor is going to dispatch the material here. Okay. Now first, today we will discuss about contracts here. Okay. So today we'll see contracts here. Okay. So here are two types of contracts: quantity and value contract here. So what is the transaction code here to create the contract? ME31K. ME31K is the transaction code to create contract. So initially also I told you, to perform any business process procedures, the first of all we need to prepare our own master data. We need to prepare our own master data. The step one, we will create one material, and step two, create one vendor, and step three, we will create contract in ME31K. And here quantity and value. So anyone I will show you, you can practice with the other one. Only the document type is going to change. For quantity contract, MK; for value contract, WK. The only document type is going to change here. Okay. So now let us start the server, and I will show you how to create contract here. Go to remote desktop connection. You can connect. Yes. Great. Okay. Now go back. Great. Now the step one will create one material. Go to MM01. That is create one finished product here. Go and selection views with the basic MM views and go to. So already you know how to create material. Okay. So enter the plant and store location. So this material. Okay. So 1 minute. I'll make. So now for 1:30 today 1:30 p.m. session actually. So I'll remove all this. Okay. Okay. So for 1:30 p.m. session, actually I changed this field selection here. So I'll make you. Further, we have a material type customization. You will understand here. Otherwise, it will stop. So there are a lot of mandatory fields, right? Will change in the system. Metal master, field selection, maintain field selection for data screens here for industry sector level here. Later will understand. Now try to create a material here. MM01 for finished product. Now go with the basic MMVs, enter the plant, enter the store location. Now all the mandatory fields are removed here. So just I am giving test for contract here. Okay, generally we need to enter the name of the material. Test for contracts here. Now enter the basic unit of measure PC. Enter some material group. Enter some purchase group here. Enter. Enter the valuation class. Some standard price. I'm doing price here. Right. So I created one material. So this is my material code here. Go to material. Copy this material. Now step one is completed here. For every business process procedure, so we need to prepare our own master data. Okay. Go and enter the material code here. The step one we created material. Now step two we know to create the vendor because already you know how to create the vendor. So 1000 vendor you can use 1000 vendor here. Okay. Step two create vendor. In your case you can create your own vendor for better understanding. So step one is completed, create material, and step two create vendor. Step three we need to create contract here. So what is the transaction code to create contract? ME31K. ME31K to create a contract here. Okay. Now please observe the contract. How many ways we can able to create contract here? Okay. So we can create contract with reference to PR if any user is created this PR. So yesterday we observed in standard procurement process here for a standard procurement process. So already PR is created with reference to PR we created RFQ. The same way this contract also you can create with reference to PR also you can create contract with reference to RFQ also you can create contract or without any reference also you can create contract. So three ways you can able to create contract as per our business requirement here. Okay. To which vendor you are making the contract, enter that particular vendor, 1000 vendor. And what is the agreement type here? The agreement type here. So here we have two types of contracts. Only document type is changed. I told you, right? So here, if you are making MK, which is quantity contract here, we have so many document types. Is there somebody is created? So, but in standard SAP we have only two here. One is MK. MK for the quantity contract, and WK for the value contract here. MK for quantity contract. So already you have written here. MK means quantity contract here. MK means quantity, and if you go to WK, you will find WK also. WK for the value contract. Only two contracts we need to observe here. Okay, MK for quantity and WK. So here, what is the difference between MK and WK also you need to understand, right? So whenever you are selecting quantity contract here, so here you need to mention the final target quantity here. Okay. So however, the price you need to determine here. In quantity contract, you need to mention with the vendor. So this many number of pieces, this many number of kgs of material we require here for next 3 months or 6 months, whatever the contract validity period here. Okay. Suppose if I selected a document type as WK, so if I'm creating value contract, so here I will actually least bother about the quantity. So I will mention this much of worth of value of the contract. So for 1000 euros or 2000 euros here. Okay. So however, for one piece is equals to how much, automatically the system will calculate it. Okay. In quantity contract, you need to mention the what is the target quantity. In value contract, what is the target value with that vendor here. Okay. So this is the difference here. So indirectly both are same here. Okay. So for what is the price you need to calculate here. Okay. So enter the vendor, agreement type MK, and which date you are going to create the agreement. So enter the agreement date. So which purchase organization is involving, and which buyer group is involving. Enter this buyer group here. Okay. So if any different item category also you can create contract here. So the contract can be created in 3 ways with reference to PR, with reference to RFQ. Again, if you click on continue. Okay. So this is mandatory here. So what is mandatory here? The validity end. Every contract must be valid from valid to year. Okay, it depends upon the time dependent year. So from this date to this date here. So okay, so you need to enter whether 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. So you need to mention the validity to end. So it is a mandatory field. Until unless if you are not enter, it will not go. And if I selected this is MK here, right? So MK means quantity will be the target quantity you need to mention it. If I selected WK, then your target value will be the mandatory field here. Okay, next when you are creating WK value contract, automatically system will ask how much US dollars of this value of the contract here. So it will ask the value contract here. Okay. Now, however, the validity end here. So how many number of months here? So we are making the agreement. So we need to observe here. Suppose let us say from 25th up to 9th month. Okay. So 2021. So from this date to this date, the validity of the contract is this year. So on or before from this date to this date, you can consume all the materials. Suppose you can extend the contract also, right? So now once you enter this, again if you click on continue, so here you need to mention the material here. Suppose if already you are creating with reference to PR, with reference to RFQ, then automatically the system will pick up which material, how much quantity, what is the price and all here. Okay, so without any reference you are creating, right? So enter the material code here. So enter the material code, copy the material code, and how much target quantity. The target quantity, suppose let us say for 1000 pieces, for 1000 pieces here. Okay, so what is the price here? So just I am going with some 80 rupees here. Okay, so as per the market price 100, so it is they are offering. So for which plant and which store location, this is the details you need to enter. You need to enter. So in real time, not only one material, so the client, okay, so we can make it for multiple materials also, material 1, material 2, material 3, material 4, like this here. Okay, so how much target you can ready? So in SAP means a German language, dot means comma. So generally we are writing 1 comma 1000 pieces here, right? So triple zeros here. But in German text here, comma means full stop means comma. So in their point of view, okay, 1000 pieces. And what is the price for which plant and which store location? So this is the we need to create contract. So still, if any like conditions, if they are giving any discounts and all, so you need to enter here. Okay, so all the details you need to enter. And if the contract is subject to release status, we need to release also. So further classes we have. So if you click on save, the system is generated on contract number here. So this is the quantity contract is created here. Okay, so once the contract is created, so what is the basic parameter of the contract here? So once the contract is created, whenever user is required this material, by using this, so we created a for 5 months or 6 months we entered example some 25th up to 9th month here. Okay, so on or before this date, so whenever the user is required this material, So then simply will go to the PO by using this contract number. If you go to now go to copy this contract number, whenever user is required this material, so simply you will create a PO. Go to ME21 in transaction code. In ME21 in transaction code, so yesterday we observed how to create a PO with reference to RFQ. So today we will observe how to create with reference to contract year. Okay, scroll here. Now here we have outline agreement number is there. So here you need to enter outline agreement number here. So enter the contract number. Once you enter the contract number, the system will pick all the details here. Means which vendor, okay, so which material, and on which date the user will mention when which date he required, price, which plant and which location, all the details is there here. Okay, but only one thing here, the quantity here. So as we mentioned for 1,000 quantity, but for next 5 months or 6 months, whatever the time period we mentioned in the contract, means we should not means we will not require all the materials at it in one day, right? Because already we created for long range agreement. It is a long range agreement here. So how much you required here? Suppose today I required for only some 50 pieces here. Okay, you need to enter some 50 pieces here. So up to this, okay, on or before that date also you can consume the complete quantity. Whenever the complete quantity is over, so automatically it will give the error message here. The quantity already is exceeded here. So how the system will give the message exceeded here? If I want, suppose you created for 1,000 pieces here. If you enter 2,000 pieces, example, just I'm showing. So the target quantity exceeded by 1,000 pieces here. So this is the at least one piece. If you enter more also, the system will show one exceeded by target quantity. So it is a warning error message here. Okay. So this is the way. So now as of now today I required only 50 pieces. The remaining will be common here. Click on message during check. Okay. Now you need to click on save. The PO will be created. Yesterday we observed. Okay. So now copy the PO number with reference to this PO. So once this PO will go to the vendor. So whenever vendor is dispatched, we need to enter the goods receipt here. Okay. Go and enter the goods receipt here. Go to MIGO. In MIGO, go to goods receipt, purchase order. So we need to the combination we need to select properly. So goods receipt against the purchase order, right? So enter the purchase order number here. Enter the purchase order number. If you click on execute here, okay. So enter the material code and how much quantity you required. In where tab you can observe which plant and which store location. In purchase data, so this the normal standard way you are procuring partner and account statement thing is there. So you can observe all the details. Click on check. The document is okay. Now you can post this here. So once it is posted, the material document is posted. You can observe the material document relating accounting documents and all. But against this PO, okay, so you need to create invoice here. Okay, the invoice need to be created. And you need to even though for contract also. So how many number of pieces we received? So for this, with reference to this PO number, okay, with reference to this PO number, you need to create invoice here. Okay, go to MIRO. In MIRO transaction code, so try to create invoice here. So enter the invoice date, on which date you are preparing, on which date you are posting, and enter the PO number. So once you enter the PO number, the system will pick for each piece is $80 US. So for 50 pieces, so complete $4,000 US you need to pay to the vendor. The system will pick all the details. So in this, you need to check here. So we have not selected any tax codes here. Okay, let me the tax should be. You need to make the tax is 0 here. Okay, so scroll it here. Okay, make it tax is 0. Here also make it tax is 0 and calculate tax. So now how much you are paying to the vendor? $4,000 US here. Enter the balance will come 0 and click on simulate. Yesterday we observed like two accounts, vendor account and company account. Vendor account will be debited and account will be created. Next, when you are paying, vendor account will be created and our account will be debited. Just go back and post here. So this is one complete cycle of the contract here. So for next 6 months, whatever the contract period, so on or before this data, you can use complete material. Suppose you are not complete that material. Okay, so instead of 5,000 pieces, you consumed only 4,000 pieces here. So suppose sometimes the vendor will not accept the same price. Okay, you can extend the contract or you can change the price after that particular date here. Okay, so this is the behavior of the contract here. And one more important thing here, the contracts is also useful in the source determination process here. How the contract is helping the source determination process, we need to observe. Just copy the material. Suppose user don't know, right? So user whether is contract is created or not, you don't know here. Okay. So simply if he is trying to create a PR here, okay, ME59. So any user department required this material. So how the user came to know against this material the contract is created. So if he is creating the PR, so he'll enter the material. So the same material. Suppose he requires some 100 quantity, he'll enter the plant. Okay, for which plant and which store location. Enter the plant and store location. Now click on message during check. Okay, now you go to source of supply tab, and if you click on assign source of supply, immediately the system will pick the contract number here. So this we need to understand. The contract is also will help in the source determination process here. Okay, so we have one vendor, we created the agreement here. Okay, so you can assign source of supply. So user immediately whenever they enter material, so is the end user, right? So you don't know whether the contract is created. So always the end users, you will go to and will click assign source of supply. So if with this material, so if any contract is created, the system will pick the contract number here. So which means it helps in the source determination process here. It's about a completely contract. So now you can practice with the value contract here. Okay. So once again, if you see, outline agreements are the long range agreement between vendor and company. Okay. So in this outline agreements, yes, if you compare the yesterday business process procedure like standard procurement, so we have advantage like we can reduce the purchase process time and you can better negotiation the vendor. Okay. And second one, the outline agreements are two types, contract and schedule agreement. The contracts again further divided into two types, quantity and value contract. In contracts, so once you create the contract, the system will give the contract number. By using this contract number, whenever you require this material, so you need to create always PO here. Okay. Then the vendor will dispatch here. But in schedule agreement, so we no need to create PO regularly. Okay. So initially, if you'll create schedule agreement, so immediately we need to give the delivery schedules here. So every time you don't need to create PO. So pre-ly we'll give the delivery schedules. So on which date, how much material is required here. So this delivery schedule with the vendors. So whenever they dispatch, we need to enter the goods receipt here. There is a difference. The schedule agreement we'll see in the next class here. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Mayur, Harshini, Nagendra, Muralidhar, Naresh. So tomorrow there is no session. So we'll meet on Monday. So please practice
Okay,
tomorrow
sir.
and Sunday. So please practice means the practice you required from your side. The practice is required. So complete the ARC data and review your master data. Okay, and try to practice standard procurement process. Okay, basic cycle, and also please practice outline agreements. So if you have any issues, please reach in WhatsApp. But practice is required for all. So you have 2 days time, Saturday and Sunday. So please practice and come with on Monday if you have any doubts here. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Nagendra, tell me.
Sir, is there any material available, sir, regarding the same PDF or anything?
మెటీరియల్ ఉంది కాబట్టి ఇప్పుడు ఇంకొక 10 days క్లాస్ తర్వాత మీకు మెటీరియల్ ఇస్తాను నేను 1 by 1.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
స్లో ప్రాసెస్ ఇప్పుడు మెటీరియల్ ఇస్తే ఇంత అని ఉంటుంది మీకు. ఓకే సో ఆఫ్టర్ 10 days class I will provide you 10 to 15 days class I will provide you the material, don't worry. So just follow me. Okay, just you follow me. So how much I explained, for that much you should be you need to practice yourself. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay ma, thank you for joining the session. Thank you all. So we'll meet on Monday. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.